Yar, and welcome aboard the Zeta Protocol, the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast that's 43.2% less wine, 3% more wisdom, and exactly 12 parsecs more chaotic than a Hondo-led heist on Canto Bight. I'm Egnards, the Data Buccaneer, joined by Pico, Spicy Cannonball Burrito, and we're setting sail across the hollow seas to plunder updates, board the latest dev posts, and swashbuckle our way through mechanics murkier than a Trandoshan's tax records. Whether you be a crate, scallywag Zeta in cup for memes, or a treasure-hoarding legend sitting on 9,000 Get 3 like it's buried spice, raise your flag, calibrate your compass, relic your crew, and beware the cursed artifact known only as the Bad Take. Now batten down the hatches and slap that play button before Watto sells this episode to the highest bidder. Mr. Pico Burrito, that was a long one. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How you been?
I am doing good, though I don't know if I said this to you last time. I think we royally screwed up because we did the first episode, right? And we've been very consistent on an every other week. And we told people that wouldn't happen, and we're starting to set expectations, and people are going to expect things from us.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. That sets the bar a lot higher than I'd like it to be.
Look, we're just gonna have to throw a curveball and just take another 6 months off. Just you know what, folks, just don't get used to it. We'll just break it just on purpose. So
We can be
yeah,
like Sherlock, right? Like BBC Sherlock, and we'll do 3 episodes every year or something like that.
I have never understood BBC release schedules. It's like, oh, it's a great show. We did 3 episodes, and then we took 12 months off. We did an episode, then we did a special Christmas episode, and then we came back 2 years later. It just makes no sense to me.
And then all of their hit shows are like 6 episodes, and then they're done.
Yeah,
They go, nah,
yeah.
we're good. We don't need to come back to this. We don't need a season 2. Just we're good. But they like it that way.
Yeah, and I'm over here complaining because TV shows in America used to be 23 episodes in a season, and now I've got like 10. And that's garbage. That's not how it works.
No, it depends on the show. I do miss the formula driven like monster of the week, like Burn Notice, Psych, and you have like this big narrative arc, but you just get a tiny bit of it each week. I miss it definitely.
Well, while we're talking about this, I want to. Yeah, there's something that irritated the hell out of me this week. We're watching the latest season of The Bear.
Okay,
That I can't decide if I like it or not. Like it's just the show in general. But there was an episode in the middle of it at a wedding, and it was almost one of those it was all the good things about the bear, but it ended up being like an hour and 15 minutes.
yeah.
Like, so this 30-minute show, 30-minute show, 30-minute show, and then all of a sudden you explode that out into a 75-minute episode without saying anything about it. Like, the pacing felt off all of a sudden. And I am not a movie critic by any means whatsoever. So when I'm noticing oh, this feels like a slog, I just, man, streaming's cool because I have to follow the kind of the commercial format. I got to get into 23 minutes, but it drives me nuts when shows do that because you're like, all right, I got time to get 30 minutes in. All right, why is this not done yet?
It works for shows like not HBO, it's not a show. It works for shows like Game of Thrones when they do like 50
Yeah,
minutes or 60 minutes or 68 minutes, right? Because it's long. It doesn't work for shows that are historically like in that 20 to 25-minute mark or in that smaller
yeah,
mark because you're expecting everything to be like concise and small. And when you build it out, I feel like the showrunners and the writers, they just don't know how to do it for that specific
yeah,
show.
yep, yeah. And it's not like you can't put a cut in between the two and do part one and part two because it's a streaming service. You can just, but yeah, I don't know.
And shows have
Um,
been doing that forever.
yeah, yep.
Cutting off a season at the end. Part 1. Wait till next year. God damn it. Come on.
So welcome to our Bear podcast where we're going to talk about cooking in Chicago, right, Chef?
I actually haven't seen the new season yet. I don't particularly care about spoilers for the show, but I'm excited to watch it. It kind of reminds me of Seinfeld in a way where like season 3 and season 4 I've heard is almost about nothing. Like there's
Yeah,
no greater arc, there's no build up, there's no like they started here and they end up there. I don't hate it. I enjoy the show overall, but my wife is like the foodie chef kind of
yeah.
person, so it's really more her show than it is mine.
It, for me, the biggest thing about it is they've done a really good job of actually showing people that go through trauma in life
Yeah.
and have growth coming out of it, and like kind of like waking up and realizing, oh no, I'm a shitty person, and I want to get better, but I don't always know how to do that. Like to me, like that's like super compelling to me. Richie, and I don't know his name. It's the guy that he was in Andor, the real loudmouth guy, but he's in. I think he's great in it. But again, it for a show that's supposed to be a comedy, I don't know where anyone thinks it's funny.
It's
Uh,
never funny, and I think they said that too. They're like, "I don't know why we're a comedy, but
yeah,
apparently we're a comedy." I think we've just confused what different like, you have drama and you have comedy, and there's nothing that's like, this is a slice of life, but it's not either of
yeah,
them,
yeah,
and we don't have a word for that, so we just say dramedy because, like, whatever,
yeah.
and
Because
people
once
accept
I
it.
chuckle, yeah,
So before we begin, I have a quick anecdote for you. The reason I had messaged you last week, I was like, "Hey, my wife is away this week." Not that she's fine with me recording. In fact, I'm sure that our wives, like, they don't even know each other, but they call each other and say, "Hey, get them in there so we can go do something else." Um, she left on what's today? Today is Wednesday. She left on
yeah,
Monday night at 5 p.m. for her flight. We had torrential downpours. Her flight was canceled at 9 p.m. She ended up at the airport till midnight because they had to deplane all of the cargo. She was pissed. She came home. Her company rebooked her last night. Gets to the airport. Everything's fine. She takes off. She texts me, "Hey, I got to Atlanta. This is awesome. Like, I'm excited, whatever." The airport lost her luggage now. She is at the airport again until 12:30 at night last night, and I am up. She's texting me, and I'm like, I just want to go to bed.
yeah, yeah,
But I get it. You're in this really shitty situation. I need to stay up. Um, this morning she had to go to Target and buy like $500 worth of
yeah,
like clothes, toiletries, like everything else. Um, so it is not her week. I feel bad for her, and I told her, no more business trips. Like, just no more. Your company says yes, you just no, because it
yep,
just doesn't
yeah,
work out for you. It's not your thing.
yeah. Uh, so I'll share another quick travel story because again, it's I was gonna say, do something nice for your wife coming back. Like that. That's what you should do. Flowers, whatever. When I travel a ton for work, and I had to go to California for a week years ago, and my kids were like, 1 and 3, so it was a lot of stress on my wife. So I had decided that I was going to send an edible arrangement because the kids love fruit. It would be something that could help her out. And I forgot to do it. So as like the doors of the plane are closing, I get in and I book this thing and I send her a note that was supposed to say, I can't do this without you. I forgot actually two important letters. And what came out is, I can do this without you. And that was, and it literally showed up. They delivered it like before I landed in California. So all I get is a text message with that picture and then a notification of like a 7,000 people messaging me on Facebook because she put it out there as well. So yeah, just proofread, I guess. Yeah, good times.
Don't send things to your wife when you are rushed for time.
Yes,
That's
exactly. Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
moral of today. That's beautiful. I love it, and we are better for having tolerant women in our lives.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's what it is. So this isn't in our show notes. We talked about this. I want to just pull the band-aid off. Um, we have a contest. We have prizes. Meathead has graced us with wondrous things. And for anyone who has ever dealt with Meathead in the past, he's a lovely person to talk to. He's also very cryptic. Anytime I've ever done a giveaway, he refuses to give me what the prizes are ahead of time. He won't do it. The last time we did a kindness thing on Reddit, and he gave 5,000 crystals to 5 people. So that's probably somewhere around what we're dealing with. He wanted to see the show grow. I mentioned Zeta Protocol. He said, hey, I'd love to do a giveaway to help you guys out. My first thought, I know we briefly said something before the show, was a haiku contest, a Star Wars haiku contest, something that is highbrow and smart, but also easy at the same time, and people don't have to put in that much effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sound fair?
I think it sounds fair. Now, do we have to describe what a haiku is? Because not everyone knows what they are.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah. Do you want to?
yeah. So haiku, and there's some variations of this, but at its core, it is a 3-line poem. Of the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the last line has 5 syllables. Now, traditional Japanese haiku, it has to be about nature or something similar to that. This is about Star Wars, so technically it's not a haiku. Don't at me around this. So 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. If you don't know what a syllable is, this is not the place to learn what that. All right. So
Or maybe it
there.
is,
Yeah,
and maybe we'll get some humor out of it.
yeah. So throw it together. I assume we want to do this on Discord, or do we
Oh
want to do
well,
this in
I
YouTube?
figured YouTube and Spotify both have a comment section.
Okay,
So we can do
perfect.
it right there,
Yep.
and
Right.
that's perfect, and it works. And we'll give it until the next time we film, which is presumably in 2 weeks. But let's give it that 2 week cutoff, whether or not we're able to film. Right. So this
Perfect.
is 7/16, July 16th. So let's say July 30th.
That'll work.
575 haiku. We will be counting. We will be clapping. We will be making sure that those syllables are perfect. Anything Star Wars character, Star Wars planet, Star Wars situation, Star Wars movie. I don't care.
Yep.
Um, Meathead has graced us with 5 prizes. Again, they are unknown prizes. Generally, what happens is I will message him in 2 weeks. He will say, oh shit, I forgot. What do you think? And then we'll play the high-low game where if I guess too low, he says, ha ha ha, I would have gone higher. Or I guess too high, and he says, you're being greedy, and gives me less than we really wanted. So it's a really fun game, but he's usually pretty generous, and it typically is worth it, right? YouTube comments, Spotify comments, 2 weeks to do it. Make me laugh, make Pico laugh. We will pick our 5 favorite.
Please, no Rule 34 content.
Oh God.
Well, again, I have nothing against Rule 34. We may actually have to show this to Meathead, and I would prefer not to have it involve lightsabers in inappropriate locations. So
That is a great stipulation because yes, I do, and I usually when we do something like this, I do give him the entries,
yeah,
whether or not he cares. I like to give him a good laugh.
yeah,
Um, so I will ignore anything that has to do with Slave Leia and
yeah,
Jabba. It's not going to happen. I'm not saying it has to be G, but let's keep it like PG to
yeah.
PG 13 ish.
This is a Disney company.
It is. It is a subsidiary. All right, we have light news week, and some of this came out last week. Do you want to start with Quiggold, or do you want to start with the era battles and the whole GL Hondos and the news that we got? I think
So
last Tuesday.
yeah, so I'm a lot like Ron Burgundy, and I just read what's on the page, and the first line in the notes says kit reveal. So let's
Okay.
start with the kit reveal.
Okay.
Uh, and it's funny, I've already forgot how we did this last time. Did we start off with the AI read? Because we're gonna do the AI read. I think that this is starting to become a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it
So
is fun. And, I did say this to you last week. We got like a 50-50 on like people really like, oh, I like that. Yeah, AI kit reads. And some people were like, I'm going to skip this every single time. And I don't think people understand why we're doing it.
yeah,
One, it's funny to me. Um, and I'm presumably to you too. I don't want to
yeah,
speak for you.
absolutely.
Two, we're a week late on this kit reveal.
Yeah,
You have probably seen Scribe You have probably seen Arnold. You have probably seen Nooch. You have probably seen Calvin Awesome do this. You have read the kit yourself. You've seen it on Discord, on Reddit. I'm not interested in reading you a bedtime story. I'm interested in telling you what's up, right? I feel like people are afraid of AI. They're like, AI is bad. And in some ways, AI is bad.
Yeah.
But this is AI doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
Summarizing so that we don't have to read an Ayn Rand novel, because you should never have to read an Ayn Rand novel.
For anyone who complains about the short books that CG is publishing for kits, this solves that problem. And you get to do fun things like dump the kit into GPT, or I'm a big Copilot user for this stuff, and you can say summarize this kit, and then when it spits it out, you can say now do it as a pirate. So this is the Copilot read of Quiggold's kit as read by a pirate. Quiggold be a fearsome tank from the dark side, loyal to the pirate cause and tight with Captain Ethano. Built to withstand brunt o' battle, swiping taunts on his mighty deck sweeper, and plundering buffs like foresight and tenacity up with his Buccaneer special. Then sharing the spoils with his crew. With his trusty player necklace forged from a hyperdrive plotter pins, Quiggold gains mighty defenses, especially in territory battles where pirates under his command can't be critically struck, shrug off damage, and gain damage immunity when gravely wounded. His abilities grow stronger the more profit he collects, unlocking powers like Retaliate, Bulwark, and immunity to stun. Face him with care, mate, as his wrath against the Sith is doubled. And if he falls while Athano be standing, he'll heal the whole crew and shield them from harm. To recruit this salty warrior, keep your eye on the marquee event starting July 15 at 11 a.m. Pacific. Now, what say ye? Want help crewing with the rest of your pirate fleet?
So we didn't want to do the impression.
No, we did not. That was about as much of the R as I could get into it. So I can't do voices and read. I can do voices or read. I can't do both
Can't
together.
do both. I understand. I'm not a multitasker either.
Yeah.
Quiggold to me looks like a tumor.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen Thumb Wars.
I have not.
Have you heard of Thumb Wars?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so for those uninitiated, Thumb Wars is a reimagining of Star Wars. It came out either in the early 2000s or the late 90s. It is basically a bunch of thumbs in acting out the first movie. He reminds me of the thumbs in that movie playing the different characters. Just a very old and cancerous and oil-ridden version of those characters, and I will never be able to unsee it.
When I see Quiggold, I think of the dude coming out of the guy's stomach in Total Recall. Like that face coming out, and I just looked it up. They don't really look alike, but it's enough for me that it kind of works that way.
It's that vibe.
Yeah, it is. Reality, his kit is actually really short and sweet. I mean that's all of his attacks are A's, which is interesting. And his big mechanic is get stacks of profit that turns into taunt and steal buffs from the other team and kind of share them with everyone else. It is he would be, as far as I'm aware, the first character that effectively can generate taunt off of a basic.
Maybe. I don't want to say yes because somebody smarter than me is going to go into the comments and be like, "You dumbasses, this guy can do it." But I think so.
Maybe K2SO, if he attacks out of turn, he gets taunt. I forget.
Yeah, isn't it like a 97.6% chance that he gets the taunt, and it's a pain in the ass because of his counterattacks?
Yep.
So, see, we worked through it, guys. We figured it out.
Yeah, we figured it out. We figured out at least one other. Someone probably is going to come in like, no, there's 17 other ones that do this, dummies.
And if I remember correctly, it's actually the 300th kit in the game.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool.
But that's 300 kits. That's including ships, though. Is that
no?
Correct?
I don't think that. No, that's not including ships.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not including ships.
Man, that's an insane number of characters.
and like to remember all of them.
Yes, I don't know how you do it. That was awesome on Calvin. I got to do Calvin and Tilo's show once where
Hmm.
they did Whose Kid Is It? And you got to basically you got to bring 5 pieces of kit together to guess where it was. That was a lot of fun because again, there was so much going on in those things you could never remember what they were. But um,
It's tough.
y-
Urs did something similar to that, and I played it with him, and I was like, I have no idea. I don't know.
yeah,
And it was like
yeah,
I don't even remember the character, but it was something stupid easy. And I was
yeah,
like, there's 280 characters in the game at this point. What do you want from me?
yeah. I think the more interesting, and we talked about some on the last episode of like how are these teams gonna shake out with the groups of pirates?
Yeah.
Um, when you dig into the kit, it does say, especially like on his second unique, there are 2 references to if he is on a team of pirates and there is no galactic legend present, which someone actually corrected me on this earlier this week on a Discord. Maz will have a leadership ability as well.
Yes.
So it does look like it's going to be Maz, Kix, Dethano, and Quiggold will kind of be the core 4 for that group.
Hmm.
And then Hondo and the other 3 would be my guess on the other side.
On the other side. But now the interesting thing on Unique 2, and I have it up so that people can actually see, and again, this is where we talk about like when there's something important in a kit, we will point that
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Um, this is a clause that I have never seen before, and it actually says if the ally in the leader slot is a non-galactic legend pirate, excluding himself. So does that mean that? I understand he doesn't have a leadership ability, but does that mean that
Yep.
if you for some reason throw Quiggold in the leadership spot, that this doesn't activate?
That would be the way that I would read it.
That's how I read it, and I'm just. I guess I'm curious why. Like, what is the interaction that they believe is going to happen?
Well, so my guess, I'll take a swing at this. My guess is some of the weird comps that people are coming up in territory battles because that's where his Omicron is tied to.
Yeah,
That like the on Vandor, if you can take Jabba and 4 tanks, it
anybody.
doesn't
Yeah,
even matter what they are. You can clear that mission. So it makes me wonder if this is not a way to stack up a bunch of territory battle Omicrons to give people more success.
interesting.
Although I think for most people that there's enough tools available for territory battles. I don't think people need it, but who knows? There, we may get another planet. We may get some other things. But that's the only reason I could come up with as to why he would be listed that way.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just interesting to me because like if I can have a leader in the leader slot, I'm gonna put a leader in the leader slot, even if it barely does anything. And there are only so many situations where you don't have a leader, like the 3-man clone split right now in Order 66. But there's no leader for that when you're doing the Apo CX2 and Disguised Clone Trooper. There aren't many situations in the game where I am throwing in a character in that spot for no reason
well, it's funny you say that. Is that clause there to prevent people from doing some silly things with the
with the
raid,
raid. You think?
undermining the raid, where there's just not a lead. It's so a leadless team in the raid. I wonder if that's maybe more of what it is.
But then at the,
Um,
the same time, just like you could put Hondo there
yeah,
or someone else. So I don't know. It just seems weird to me. I'm very curious about it. It's a
yeah,
curiosity, like why they've put that in there. The other interesting thing here is when we look at this kit, there is a lot of allusions to 5 or more stacks of profit,
yeah.
where historically we have seen, all right, 5 is the max. 5 is all of the old pirates. 5 is the max. 5 is the max on Newt Gunray. So there's gonna be something, right? Maybe Hondo, maybe Maz, maybe whoever it is, like is gonna have some kind of mechanic.
Yeah, it'll be interesting where I mean, we should get Maz's kit next week, correct?
Probably. Yeah, it should be next week. Yeah, because
So
that's when
we'll
it'll
get
come into game.
yeah, we'll get Maz and we'll get Kicks next week. So we should have a pretty good understanding of what this team looks like. I think the big question is, does Kicks get the raid Omicron that everyone kind of assumes is coming into the Pirates?
I know a lot of
Um,
people have assumed it. I think, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I
yeah,
think Meathead had said that there is no raid Omicron planned at this time. Of
okay.
course, that doesn't mean there won't be one. Um,
Yeah. Uh,
who
it,
knows?
it, at this point, everyone keeps talking about what can they're doing all these things to the Pirates to make them more attractive. I think putting a raid Omicron on the Pirates that just allow them to clear whatever they need to um, does make them a pretty attractive team at that point. But if they also didn't put a raid Omicron on, it wouldn't break my heart at this point.
If Pirates got a raid Omicron that allowed the applicable and correct team with the right relic levels and half decent mods to auto the raid, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
raid is not long at all, but I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed wholeheartedly. We'll probably be talking about the raid quite a bit in kind of the last section today because I think
Yes,
that's a big piece of this. So we'll definitely circle back on some of that.
100%. So the last thing when it comes to piracy is we got a piece of news last week. The community is a little bit up in arms about, which is the era of piracy battle. And that piece of news reads: there is some information for the upcoming era battle and Smugglers Run 3, right? People are very excited for Smugglers Run 3. Hondo is on deck. This August, gather your new pirate forces and set sail for the next era battle, Raiders of the Outer Rim. So essentially, for those following along at home, the calendar cadence that we originally had and people had planned for, we are saying that that era battle is being pushed back a month, which has had a lot of people get angry. And then we also have the understanding that we're going to get a Smugglers Run 3 that is going to require Hondo. And it says Hondo at Relic 3 and 9. My assumption there is that it'll run like Smugglers Run 1, where there's two tiers, but you can only do one of them. So players who unlock Hondo maybe will get to do it early. And then when you bring him to Relic 9, you'll get to do the better tier, but we don't know. That's two different things to unpack. I'm curious about your thoughts, especially because we are both endgame players, but we also treat our accounts a little bit differently. What your thoughts are on the era battles?
It, so I'm going to preface this with I actually had a little bit of a discourse with someone on your Discord server last week about someone jumped in and immediately went to the European Union should be
Oh,
investigating
I
and suing CG because whatever, man. Like, no, okay, just no. But I did call out at the bottom. Look, they put the disclaimer subject to change. All right, so
yeah,
and I was arguing that point, and they have the right when they say that they made us aware of that. That said, I think this was a bad idea to do. You you
okay,
you don't you don't publish a 6 month schedule, and at the beginning of that 6 month schedule, you make it so overtly beneficial to players to invest early to take advantage of this,
hmm
and then change that in the middle. And there were a lot of people that bought this character or spent more crystals on this character to get them to a point to take advantage of all the extra shards that come in on the backside. And I just if you're going to change your mind, you need to tell people ahead of time. Like it should have been before the announcement of Athano, not after the announcement of Athano. I was incredibly frustrated that I took Athano up to R9,
yeah,
assuming that I was going to get a chance to chase a bunch more droid brains. And that doesn't look like it's going to be the case now. So I I if Meathead were here right now, I think
Hmm.
the question that I would ask him is, was this a decision tied to um, maybe seeing what happened the first, with the clones, and a lot more resources got pulled into the game than what were expected because we figured out how to do it with smaller teams, or is this just is this maybe a side effect of this accelerated cadence that they're building for all of these things, and there just wasn't enough time to get this one ready when they needed it to? Like
Yeah.
that's the big question that because I don't think it was nefarious. I really don't. I think it's one of two things: unintended behavior at the beginning, or not enough time. Which we saw that with the Bad Batch as well. Is there just wasn't enough time to do something that they wanted to do from that cadence?
Yeah, I put out my thoughts on YouTube, and I used a different word, a similar word. I'm not happy about it, but I had said I don't think it's malicious. Um, for someone in your position who typically does spend on the characters early, I think I think it's actually a benefit to you, because my belief is that they heard what some people were saying with the clones, and they don't want to release the era battle until enough characters are out
Yeah,
for you to do the later tiers, and that would benefit someone like you who's going to invest. um I just don't think they thought about how players in my position, who maybe, for example, my Athano is at 60 of 65 shards, because I had planned to get 7 shards from tier 1, and now I only have a 30% chance of that happening,
yep,
right? Would I have invested? I probably would not have if I knew about this change. I think it was a well-intentioned idea that they just didn't think about all of the discourse that could happen. And I do agree, that they should have given us this information right before Captain Athano, a day before, and said, "Hey, we're doing this. Here's why we're doing it. Just be prepared." And it would have been received, I believe, a little bit more positively.
yeah, and to your point of how I build characters, kind of the time frame that I like to have things ready. I would have made a change in this case. So, right
Okay.
now I'm building raid teams. I'm still I'm working under the premise that I don't want to underman anything because I don't like the resets. So, I was kind of working under this idea that, oh well, if Thana will come in, that'll help me kind of accelerate maybe an R9 raid team. But there are other things that I want to spend those droid brains on right now, and specifically around Rise of the Empire, and I've got some things that I'm trying to do there. I would have held back on. I would have taken them to R8, kind of, which is my baseline for characters, and
Hmm.
I would have waited had I known what that's going to look like. Now, I we'll see if it starts next month. I think that it's interesting. The plan was an era battle for the first three characters and an era battle for the second three characters. At least that's the way that I interpreted those colors.
That's
Are
how
we
I
now just
interpreted
getting?
it.
Yeah. Are we just going to get one era battle for the remaining 6 weeks?
See, that's interesting.
I guess 8 weeks. So are they going to basically pull a complete era battle out? Which again, there's resources that are coming off the table from that as well because of the staggered kind of drop off that they do with those.
Yeah.
Uh, I think more broadly for me, I'm more frustrated on the impact that this had to the community because I like the fact that my guildmates who don't invest in the game way the same way that I do were able to accelerate some releases so that they can have teams ready so that we're just where we need to be from the raid. And more
Hmm.
importantly, we can check the box for being done with the raid and we can go move on to the next thing that we want to do from that side. And I think that there was a big impact for people from that side.
Definitely. Definitely. And I just want to clarify for people who are listening and rolling their eyes, because you had mentioned that your baseline is Relic 8, and you're complaining is not the right word, but
No,
complaining about Relic 9. And I feel like there's going to be some people being like, oh, it's one Relic level. the materials from Relic 8 to Relic 9, if we talk about store value, and I'm sure you have stuff saved up, it's about $150 worth of materials. So it is a big step taking that one relic level, and it is a big deal, even if all of those materials are saved.
Yeah, and look, there's a way to look at those from a dollar value or a crystal value, but the other piece is if we take the 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 era battles that will not be permanent.
Hmm.
Okay, so these era battles that we're doing, if we take those out of the mix, all right, there are we figured this out, and if you're essentially going 1 for 4 in territory wars in a month, there are 40 droid brains on the table for the entire month to be had, provided you're buying the 5 every week with crystals. Put aside the new ones for a second.
Hmm.
What that means is taking this character to R9. That's half of what is available in the game. They droid brains are the most scarce resource in the game right now. So to waste them, to put a term people like to use for to waste those on a character that doesn't have a real impact right now, that's a that's a challenge. Like that's my bigger thing is that's I can't do my inquisitors that I want to be able to run on Malachor is the way that looks. Again, first world problems. I get it. That's not what this is about. But this is look, even at different points of the game, everyone's got to make a decision of what we're doing
Of
resources in the
course.
game. I made a bad decision. Like I have no one to blame but myself. I put the thing on him before the event started because I assumed it was going to be available the next day, and I became an asshole over it. That's just the
Well,
way that it works.
you put it on him based on the information we'd been
Yeah.
given, based on the pattern we were given, based on the tentative information we were told about what was upcoming. I recommended people do a certain thing,
Yeah.
and I feel like an asshole for doing that, but I was doing that completely based on what information we had. And that's all we can ever do.
Yep.
And it sucks when we waste it because now you have a character who is doing nothing for you. Whereas before you could have possibly gotten some return or rebate from it.
And I'm now really starting to question whether the Thanos even going to matter in the raid or not. Like
Yeah.
that's like that now becomes like the big thing of like, oh, is he going to be an R9? That's and by the way, I tried sticking him on a Mace team to see if he would help, and actually, it made it fail faster. Like so you can't just be a body that you're sticking on something. So
Yeah, it's a problem, and by the time we get that next era battle, we're already 1/3 of the way through the Maz era battle. So it kind of, would you have done it beforehand? We don't know, and it is frustrating. And my only urging for CG is, again, not malicious, not nefarious, but when you make a change like this, just consider when you're telling the community so that they don't feel like they have had the rug pulled. Because I know a lot of players do feel like that has happened to them. Um,
let's talk about a positive though for a second.
okay.
All right. Again, my new thing at work is you can call me and complain about whatever you want to, but we have to spend as much time talking about how we're going to solve the problem as we did about how much the problem sucks. We probably won't talk about it that long here, but so I am really excited about a new Smugglers Run.
Hmm.
Just because all of the other Smugglers runs that have gone into the game have been really, really impactful, and this is where I need people to listen to me and not immediately say you're wrong. Okay. Because the inclination, fight your inclination to say that I'm wrong. All right. So if Smugglers Run 3 includes Omicrons and Droid Brains, do everything you possibly can to get a team that can take that highest level as soon as you possibly can. Do not look at it from the standpoint of, well, I have to take 5 characters to R9 and I will never earn those resources back, because it's not about earning them back. It's about generating a stream of those resources coming in. And here's the example that I'll give. And look, I saw this conversation in Discord this week around Prettia Patrol. Someone
Hmm.
who does not have those characters at Prettia. So I have the Duel of the Fates and the Prettia Patrol teams done over the calendar year 2025. I will have earned 140 droid brains from that event over the window. That is 7 characters. As I just talked about, the most restrictive resource in the game, enough resources to take 7 characters to R9 over the course of the calendar year. That event's going to continue on into next year, which means those just I am at an advantage for other people from that side just because of the volume of resources that are coming in. And in this case, we're talking 5 characters against earning 7 in a year. All right. The longer you wait, the less effective that it becomes.
Yes.
Do this. Just do this. It makes all of the sense in the world. Yes, it's painful to take that step, but take that step, and I guarantee it's going to pay off in the long run.
When I see people in my range of like 12 to 14 million who are like asking for roster advice, and the first thing I do is I look at, because I know everybody has Duel of the Fates because of Naboo.
Yep. Yep.
I look at Peridia Patrol, and every single time that I don't see them even relic, it just hurts me in the soul.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can talk about the ROI of it and the rebate of it and blah, 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 or whatever. But the other side of that is, and kind of like piggyback off of you, outside of the fact that I'm generating a passive income, they're also very usable characters.
Yes.
So as someone who does need R8 and R9 teams in Rise of the Empire, it's another team that's generating me points to be able to help my guild further on top of getting those resources back. My concern, I have a feeling that this is not going to be a Droid Brain event. Smugglers Run 1 was a modding event. Smugglers Run 2 was a modding event. I do have a feeling it's going to be a modding event, but both Smugglers Run 1 and 2 were impactful events, and I'm still going to be prioritizing if it is for mod material.
Even if it's mod material, and this is, again, we can do an entire episode on hey, what's a good mod and what's a bad mod, because I think how most people view it is wrong. But again, it's more resources. I will not name names, but I watched one of our guildmates this week. He got to a 28 at 5A. He had a 28 speed mod at 5A, and he mentioned something about calibrating, and I'm like, no, you don't calibrate that. You roll it all the way up to the top, and then you calibrate after the fact, because you might get there was a percentage offense on there, or something that it could hit. I know mod talk is not fun for anybody, but because he didn't have enough slicing material, he would slice at a level and then calibrate, and slice at a level and calibrate. Like, he was missing an opportunity. He was actually stealing good stats trying to hit another stat at that side where he had flat defense that he could have hit maybe one more time to steal something. It's getting those resources in so that I don't have to spend crystals on mod rerolls and things like that. There's a payoff there. There's just a massive payoff there to do so from that side. So
100%. I think the cool thing here with this one is, you know, I've always told people that Jabba is one of the most impactful GLs because he's not that hard to get, and the modding material, you just need it. It's insane. I think doing a Smugglers Run 3 with Hondo, yes, Hondo's going to be semi-expensive. There's already one R9. Are they going to do more? I don't know. I don't like to speculate like that. It might not be an option for a 2 million GP player or a 3 million GP player, but he might, based on what Smugglers Run looks like, be an impactful GL for players to get somewhere in the middle, somewhere at 6 million, at 8 million. Because I need mods. I am drowning over here trying to get good mods, and they need them more than I do.
Look, to go back to, you made a comment about teams that are good in other game modes. So in the raid era, let's call this the raid kind of era that we're in. So Bad Batch from the start of this year through, it'll be a 9-month window of all of these characters. Every team that has been generated out of this. All right, so that's Bad Batch, Clones, Mace. The assumption is at least one of the pirate teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're good to great kind of raid teams as well, or excuse me, not raid PvP teams, but also they are every day, every phase, Rise of the Empire teams, all the way through 9, and with the exception of Bad Batch, they're auto teams. You can turn it on auto and call it a day. And Bad Batch, because there's just some weird taunt mechanics you have to work around. But and you have to expect that a Galactic Legend is going to be that same way with Hondo, where it comes from that side. So It's putting time and energy into these teams will just solve problems for you across the board. It just
Yeah.
solves problems across the board.
It's also helpful with Rise of the Empire, I have found at least what I've been trying to do, because just like your guild, my guild, there is like the really try hard players like myself who really stay on the pulse, and then there are, they maybe aren't slackers, but they're slightly more casual. Every time I upgrade a new team, I take an old team out of my Rise of the Empire rotation, because now that's more that I can platoon, and
Yep.
I can put something in the platoons that someone else needs that I no longer need, because as of right now, none of these teams are in operations, are in platoons. So it helps my guild from a combat point perspective for myself, but it also helps other guild members perform.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly.
Um, we have one more thing to talk about tonight, and I know we kind of agreed on this. Um, the Arnold in the room. And I want to stress to everybody who's listening, because I've seen a lot of videos of people talking about it, and that's not what this is. Arnold is taking a step away from the game for a little while. Not the game, maybe just content creation for the game for a little while. He is having a baby girl, I believe, a little bit earlier than planned. So he's basically taking, this is his job. He's taking a paternity leave. Um, a lot of people flipped out about it because they either didn't watch the video or they just didn't understand.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of talk about a void in the content creator space, which I kind of laughed at. Um, I I don't think there's going to be a new change in power. But the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is something that we have talked about a lot. We've probably touched on it in Zeta Protocol. Is really just the hyper prioritization of the game
Yeah.
versus the real world, and time management, and understanding that there is, to quote a Broadway show, life outside your apartment. If anyone gets the
Oh,
show, I'll be very impressed. But
I,
do you have any
I
thoughts?
don't. Although I could. So look, I'm gonna. This could either help our show or kill it really quick. But I'm gonna be really honest for a couple minutes. Um, I don't care for Arnold's content. All right, now let me describe this. All right, I understand it is a he is playing a character. He has a style about him, and I appreciate that he's incredibly successful about what he does. But as a person, what I need out of life is the negative view of things is something that like sucks energy out of me. Like, and this is the same way that I have with work. This is everything. I tend to be a solve the problem person, not tell you why everything sucks. So, but again, I appreciate what he does, and this is not a knock on what he does. And please go. I truly love the fact that he has found a way to make money doing something that he so clearly loves. All right. I was dumbfounded at his video actually looking at the setup that he had.
Yeah,
I'm like, he it was so much more involved than what I thought it was. Okay. So he's just not my cup of tea. That's okay. Now, watching the video and watching him clearly get emotional about such an awesome event, like that guy I want to go have a beer with.
yeah,
And I can separate those two things. Like he is not what's on there. What and I'm saying this maybe coming from a point of view that look, call it what it is. I loved the show that I did with Sarah,
hmm,
but I we lost our show because real life. She prioritized real life, and I was never happier around where that was. And there are and I can list any number of times where I have probably prioritized the wrong thing that comes to this, but and I'll stop talking in a second. I have always said the most valuable resource is time.
yes,
We only get so much. it is I read something the other day. We can calculate the exact amount of time that we have spent on this earth, but it's impossible for any of us to know how much we have left. And you have to find a way to prioritize how you're using that. And I'll be honest, it's not this game.
Yeah.
It's not.
And we both say that as people who have a
Yeah.
podcast talking about this game, and spend way too much time on this game. But at least from my standpoint, a lot of my time, it's summer now. I'm not working as much because I work in a school. All of my friends are still working. So I'm at home annoying my wife, not really doing anything. Um, Most of my time normally playing this game is on my lunch break when I'm not doing anything anyway, or it's while I'm waiting for something that I need to wait for. Most of my filming is done at 5:45 in the morning because I don't want to take away time that I have with my wife. My Sunday show that I do, Brunch with Egnards, it goes from 7:30 in the morning until about whenever I hear my wife rustling. Not because she doesn't want me to have a hobby, but because I want to make sure that my time is spent doing something maybe that's not better, um, but that is outside of this virtual space as much as possible.
Yeah. And look, there's any number of look. My example this weekend is last end of last week through the weekend, I drove from Central Ohio up into Northern Michigan to take my 15-year-old fishing and one of his buddies fishing. And they're 15, so they also slept till noon. But one of the days, I'm up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I grabbed a cup of coffee and I grabbed my iPod and I walked down to to the dock where we're staying. We rented a place on Grand Lake in Michigan, and I'm sitting there and I started to do territory battles,
Yeah,
and I'm looking out over this calm lake with a little bit of of fog lifting off of it, and I'm like, or I could just skip territory battles, grab a fishing pole, and throw it in the water for the next 30 minutes and have a cup of coffee, and that was you know yeah, you could also talk about fishing as a waste of time because I didn't catch shit while I was doing it, but it was also I found something more important. But I think the bigger piece, it's not that I put the game down. I said I didn't feel any pressure to pick it back up.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that there are too many people that feel that pressure to pick it up when they don't need to. And I think that, and look, I've had my wife point this out to me. I've had my kids point this out to me. There are too many times that we think it's just one battle. It's also, you know, 3.5 minutes is an eternity to someone who's waiting for your time or who's waiting to interact with you. And it's, you know, prioritization matters,
yes,
and I don't, it's, for me, it's really hard to talk about this without it. A lot of that prioritization conversation comes back to kids. And I don't think that that's fair to say that, my priorities are different because I have kids. It's the frame of reference where I'm at right now. Uh, the other example that I have is, look, my kids are out of the house in the next 7 years, and I'm already telling my boss I'm starting to think about what my next job is going to be because when they're gone, I don't want to leave and leave my wife home by herself every day.
yeah,
So I've got to find out a way. I got to find a way to fix that piece because that becomes time that I want to spend with her from that perspective.
yes. And I think, to be clear, at least from my perspective, as people are listening, if you get joy out of every minute you play this game, that's fine. Because entertainment matters, right? Whether you get it from fishing, whether you get it from this game, whether you get it from going for a run, which is bullshit because nobody enjoys running. It's not fun at all. I do it, it's terrible every time. Whether you're a pole vaulter, whether you like watching movies, if you derive every minute or enjoy every minute that you derive from, or whatever that phrase is, fine. But being someone that does talk to a lot of players, I know that there are a lot of people who will tell me, hey, I am spending too much time doing territory battles. This is really frustrating to me. And they'll also tell me, no, I'm not putting a territory battle Omicron on because I need it for GAC. Um, where I'm like, just put it on and you gain 10 minutes back and you're not stressed anymore. right? And that kind of goes back to what you were saying with the raid, with the splits and them taking longer, and there's a lot of RNG. You'd rather do the raid in 3 minutes versus 15 minutes because it gets frustrating constantly restarting, refreshing, redoing, waiting for the right setup, when you would rather prioritize, let me spend the materials so that I can spend less time engaging with this not the game itself, but this specific thing, so I can do something else.
Yeah, it's funny. There was in our raid chat this week, there was someone who was a little frustrated because ranked up some characters, but the mods weren't right, and they made it kind of like, well, last night I just decided to stop because I didn't have a time. I didn't have an hour and a half to remod a couple of characters, and I responded, I'm like, for $10 a month, I can remod my entire roster in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And now, of course, they didn't see it, but that's a whole different story. Uh, but there are certain things of like, what steps can you take to simplify things? And look, I get it. Like there are people that cannot wrap their head around spending $10 when they don't feel it's a necessity. But it's also one of these cases that there's any other number of things in life that we spend money on to make our lives easier. All right. And $10 is $10. I know not everyone has $10 of disposable income on that side, but there is a certain point that if you are frustrated with the time spent spending or to like doing mods, go pay for Hotbot. Just do it. It will save you time and energy from that perspective. You know, even when I use Grand Ivory to do all these things, it would take me 3 hours to get everything set up in Grand Ivory to run it. You go over to Hotbot, you're like, and yes, I spent a couple hours on a Saturday doing it, and then I never spend any more time in the rest of the year, and I run it every Sunday.
Yeah.
I run my automation, I move everything around, and it's good to go. I will share anybody who wants it. I will share my mod loadouts and everything that I use within that side. You're going to complain that probably my speeds are too high. Whatever, you can tune it from that side. I'm happy to share that with people. But the weird context of this game is you spend time and energy to get your roster to a point that you don't have to play the game. Like that should be the goal. Just auto. Like I just want to be able to auto battles. I want to be able to win battles, but spending time doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result it's insanity to me.
Especially, I think, if like I do know that, like, if you don't want to play the game at all, you shouldn't play the game, right? Like, and,
Yeah.
and I've said, I actually, right before you came on, I was having a discussion with a smaller content creator friend of mine who was telling me, hey, I'm leaving the game. And we basically had this discussion of, in life, there are things that you're going to do for the last time, and that's okay. That's fine. It's perfectly normal. If you're no longer deriving enjoyment out of it, perfectly normal. If you are a player, and I know that there's a lot of players like this who are like, I like the competitive aspect of GAC. I hate doing everything else. Wonderful. Make everything else as easy as possible for
Yeah.
yourself. And I will stipulate by saying, I know you did this early on when the Padawan Obi-Wan Omicron first came out. I posted that it was a trap. I was like, it doesn't make sense for someone in my position. I can do Conquest without it. And then I listened to you and Sarah maybe 3 or 4 days later, and you were like, yeah, I got it right away. It made my life easier. This specific Conquest cycle, this one right now, I ended up doing the Omicron because I had that epiphany moment, and I was like, I know I can do it without it,
Yeah.
but this is going to save me an hour. Why am I not saving myself this hour? Like, what kind of idiot have I been not just putting this
Yeah.
on and making my life a little easier?
Look. Here's a real life example of this, and it was probably the first real argument my wife and I had after we got married. And we've been married for 19 years. But when I was a kid growing up, we had a woman who came into our house every other week and cleaned bathrooms and vacuumed and did a lot of that work. And when my wife and I started living together and started getting busy, I'm like, we should have somebody come in and do this. And she
Yeah.
thought it was a colossal waste of time. It was a colossal waste of money. And what it turned into though is the two of us always arguing over like whose turn it was to go scrub the shitter. All right. And it became like this hassle. And I finally convinced her that let's just bring somebody in when we had our first to help just keep up the house from that side. Every other week, that's all that we're doing. Michelle might as well be a part of our family that she's been doing this over the past 15 years. And again, there's a cost associated with it. It is a line item in our budget that we spend every month. But that also means on Saturday mornings, I'm not getting up and scrubbing bathrooms and vacuuming and doing. Now we still have to pick up and things like that, but that chore aspect around the house, we've offloaded it to someone else. It's the same thing as these concepts in the game. It's like, yes, I know that I can clean the house by myself. I would rather spend that 2 hours doing something different.
Yes.
I'd rather spend it going to walk for 45 minutes with my wife and the dog on Saturday morning before the kids wake up and it's quiet around the house instead of, I don't know, cleaning a bathroom or something similar to that point. It's that same idea. There are trade-offs. The things that suck, don't do the things that suck. Just spend a little to make it happen. And I know it's a shitty way to look at it. And people will have a problem with the fact that I said spend. Spend on Omicron. You can't sit on them forever.
Yeah. I was doing 2 conquests this week, and I normally don't. I don't have an alt account. I hate alt accounts. When people tell me they have 4 accounts, I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? That's all of your time.
Yeah.
But I had a guildmate who was going on a cruise. He was not going to have Wi-Fi. I said, hey, you know what? I'm actually home this week. I am bored. I can't promise I'm going to red crate for you, but I'll do some maintenance work for you.
Yeah.
Like I'll do some stuff in the morning, help you out. It took a ton of time, and I looked at his Omicrons. I think he had like 280 of them. He was just sitting on them. No reason at all. And I when he came back today, and I was like, all right, here are some thoughts I have about what you should do to make your own life easier, because you're really making your life so miserable right now with the way that you're playing your roster and your resources. And I can keep your game exactly the same, but just make your life easier. But going away from the game, I'm going to have to timestamp this and send just this specific portion to my wife, because we're having the same conversations now about having somebody come in, even just once a month, just for like basic, like normal,
Yeah.
regular cleanup. Because I'll get home on a Saturday and I'll sit on the couch and I'll say, let's sit down, let's watch a show, let's hang out. And she will get up to go get some water and then start vacuuming and then start
Yeah.
cleaning the bathroom and then start doing this. And what do you like? We
Yeah.
never get to see each other. Like let's enjoy an hour and then I'll help you. Like we can do this. So maybe that'll be the thing that convinces her.
Look, I had something happen to me because of this game that I hope no one ever experiences. So 2019, in August, I was at our sales conference in Las Vegas. We always do it every year. There was a woman I was really good friends with. I supported her in her accounts for a number of times, but she was my drinking buddy when we were out there. We had a blast together, and she got a couple of promotions, in 2018. So she was running around with the big fancy people, and we couldn't find a time to catch up. And the last night we were in town, I had gone out from being out for a little bit, and I was sitting down trying to do with Dark Side Geo at the time is what it was, and I was running those missions, and she called me at about 11:45 at night, and she's like, "Hey, just sat down. Can you come down and meet me?" And literally, it was in the lobby of the MGM Grand where I was staying at, and I just really wanted to get those missions done, and I'm like, you know what? I can't. We'll catch up in a couple of weeks. I'll be up. She was up in Michigan. Like I'll be up. We'll catch up that way. And you know, 3 months later, the world shuts down because of a global pandemic. A year and a half later, she leaves the company. Her and her husband then moved to Europe for a new job in 2024. I've never seen her again. Like
Yeah.
we talk every once in a while, but I missed an opportunity to sit down and have a drink and a laugh with a good friend of mine. Like I missed my last chance to spend time with someone. And I don't know when I'm gonna ever get that chance. And I regret it. And she reached out to me the other day, and I regret the fact that I prioritized this damn game over just going to get a drink with somebody. And that's the fear that I have when people can't prior. And this is why I think it's so great that like the reaction that Arnold had, that is not someone who is taking the stance of I'm stepping away for a little bit because I have a like commitment that I need to hold up to. He is stepping away because there's something great that's happening in his life, and that he knows that that needs to be the priority. And I appreciate that he's got that point of view, especially for someone that this is their job. Like that's a hard step to make in that case.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I will say I have a light anecdote and a heavy anecdote. I'm going to share the light one with you. Very, very similarly, just because, not to bring the vibe down. But right before COVID, my wife had bought Post Malone tickets. She is someone who loves to just buy concert tickets, just fear of missing out. Um, I think those tickets were for February. And the week of the show, she decided to sell them. She was like, "Oh, they're too much money. Like I shouldn't have bought them." I will say that we're not rich, but
Yeah.
we're not we're not hurting. Our rent is paid. We can buy food. We don't have to like worry about that kind of stuff. And I told her, just think about it. Like, please don't sell them yet. Like, sleep on it, whatever. She decided to leave them up. They sold that night. The world shut down like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know, and for those 3 years where we couldn't go to a concert, she was like, "Man, I never should have sold those tickets. I never should have sold those tickets. I never should have sold those tickets." Neither of us is really even a big Post Malone fan. It's just it was something that you could do, and then three
Yep.
years of you can't do anything. You know?
Yep. Yep.
So if you learn anything from this, people, there's a couple of things. Number one, we are not sponsored by Hot Utils. Um,
Nope, we are
number
not. No, we are not. I have to say that all the time.
number
Um,
two is go buy a bidet. It'll help you with the shitter scrubbing. It doesn't solve the problem, makes it a little easier.
yeah.
And number three, when you get a chance to go out and do something, if it is something that if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you even have a thought of, yeah, I should, but the game is staring you down, go do the other.
Go do the other thing.
And if your TB officer or your raid officer or some asshole like me is telling you get your raid runs done, you have 3 fucking days to do it.
Yep.
You have 3. That's why I always do my shit right away. Because if that day is shot and I have something to do, my friends invite me out, I still have a second day. I still have a third day.
Now, the caveat to that is if you're going on a 3-day bender to go see fish, just go see fish. Just call me first, please. Okay. I will come with you. I will be there to make sure that you're okay, that we're okay. Maybe we'll get lucky. We'll see. We'll hear a little YEM. Maybe no Mike song. All right, this is a hyper specific for like the weird Venn diagram of Star Wars fans and fish fans that are
Fish
here.
fence.
But I will come and I will help you from that side. So
You can invite me along too, buy me a beer, and I'll do everybody's battles. That's fine. If I get a trip out of it and some free beers, I'll do everybody's battles. I don't care. Like it's fine. But again, I'm gonna do them low effort. They're all gonna be on auto. You might win, you might lose. I don't know. I'm always gonna find the way to like prioritize my time elsewhere. And it's just something to consider for everybody.
yep,
I think we got through everything.
we did. We did. If anyone from CG is still listening, hey folks, this is why we need more content in the game because no one wants to listen to the two of us talk about real life for 35 minutes. All right, I'm putting this on. If you're angry here, send nasty grams to Meathead after you write the haiku, and hopefully you win. All right, like that would be the trade off.
Yeah, I will tell you before we sign off. I was doing Three Scoundrels last week because I seem to be stuck doing it every week. And I had said to Logan, if I know you and Sarah had joked about it, if you had done a podcast where I didn't give a shit what you guys talked about, I would have listened every week. And if you're only here for the Star Wars content, fine, I get it.
Yeah,
But like, I like finding out about people's lives. That's why I started doing content creation. That's why I'm such a whore for collaborating with people. Is I don't give a shit about the game. I
Yeah.
want to interact with people and talk to people and understand people and find out what they're doing and why they're doing.
But by the way, we had a lot of feedback in the last 3 months about I didn't know that I was listening to a parenting podcast. Like, very, like, seriously, because we would, like, talk about kids for 5 minutes, you know? So, um
I don't even have kids. My favorite parts were like, cause I don't give a shit about kit reveals. I don't care about datacrons. It was two people talking about life and anecdotes about life. Like that's what was interesting to me. And if you don't find that interesting, either you don't like those two people, or
yeah,
you need to reframe your perspective and understand that there's life outside of
yes.
Star Wars. With all of that said, as Mr. Pico Burrito had alluded to before, do not forget to submit your haiku within the next 2 weeks. I believe that is 7:30. We'll say by the time I wake up on 7:30, which is like it's like 5:45 a.m. on Eastern time, but we'll have some leeway there. Um, and then we'll go through them. We'll find the ones we like. We will talk about them either that night or whenever we film again, and we will make sure that Meathead gets you something fun.
Yeah, free stuff's always fun.
Oh, is it for what? Like 3 lines? Like, come on.
Yeah,
It's not that hard.
it's 17 syllables.
Yeah. How hard can it be? There are some guys in Japan, like ancient Japan, rolling in their graves right now. They're like, what do you mean?
Look, I thought about this one for 18 months so that every word mattered, and you guys are just like, "Lightsabers are cool." As
Well,
I'm finger counting the syllables as I'm saying that.
there was one that I used to when we would teach haikus in school, and I don't remember it exactly, but I'm like trying to figure count it, and it was something along the lines of like, this is a haiku. Seven
Yeah.
syllables go here. Then there are five. Like something stupid like that. I don't remember the exacts, but I thought I was so clever. Um, you have any
Well,
parting words?
I don't. I know there was a little bit of a heavy topic here, and folks, if you're still listening to this long, again, appreciate it. Again, I say it every week. It still blows my mind that people are willing to give us time. Thank you for listening. Please provide feedback with, again, what can we do better? What do you like? What don't you like? You have ideas for some of these open segments? Let us know. And thanks everybody.
Yeah. With that said, peace out.